Hi, my name is Joseph, and welcome to part 18 of Chapter 1 Eiji, Wolf of the Ninth Avenue from Digimon Seekers. This picks up with a quick description that the real world does not know how to classify Digimon as either alive or programmed due to the digital world not being properly defined. Due to this, nations, not just Japan, the realistic approach that they decided to classify individuals working with Digimon was as saboteurs or sabotage, and they also decided to set up a special unit. So that name of that special unit was fully disclosed in the last part, but it's repeated here. So I'm going to go ahead and restate it. This special unit is named the Investigation Section 2, Cybercrime Division, Community Safety Department, excuse me, my writing, Community Safety Department, Metropolitan Police Department, or in other words, to shorten it, the Digimon Prevention Team, or to further shorten it, the Digipolice. So the description then shifts over to the Shu Yulin, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing that, but Shu Yulin is the 11th section squad leader, and she's reviewing the information that was just gathered from the recent mission with Satsuki. And Satsuki, it's reviewed right here that she is the, pardon me everyone, she is a deputy squad leader. And right here, it's also described that we being the audience, were already aware that those individuals who are mind linking, they need to be careful on how long they're mind linked for with their Digimon. And we're finally getting a further elaboration upon that. So essentially, there's two lines that the user needs to be aware of. The user utilizing the linker strap, and those two lines are known as the K line and the L line. The K line, that is the warning threshold, letting the user know it's time to get out of the mind link, deactivate it. While it's the L line, that is the limit line, where once that is crossed, the user's subconsciousness has the chance to become stuck in the Digicore. Thus, the real body is essentially in a comacotic state. I don't think I pronounced that correctly. Excuse me about that. And essentially, they're in a coma, or also known as DMIA, or the digital missing in action. So yes, and then after this, Satsuki explains, or rather, she thinks to herself that she is a bit embarrassed of the fact that she got beat, or rather, her Numimon got beat by Eiji. And the reason why she's embarrassed is because, Shu Yulin, she describes Eiji as being either very clever or essentially just a dunce, which is pretty funny. So that's why Satsuki becomes a bit embarrassed. Let me look at my notes really quickly. After Satsuki explains the past section that we went over, the we being the audience, part 17, Shu Yulin apparently looks up Eiji's information. She's impressed with the fact that Satsuki was able to acquire his name, and Satsuki reveals that, well, essentially, Eiji disclosed that information freely. And her name, Shu Yulin, she's shocked that he didn't give out his code cracker name. So a quick side note right here, I am not going to lie, the translation's a bit wonky. In the previous part 17, I thought Eiji did tell Satsuki that his name, but then he corrected himself and said, I'm also known as Code Cracker Fang. But maybe the translations either was wonky in part 17, or it's being wonky in this part 18. So unfortunately, again, some of that translation issue. But yes, so since Shu Yulin is a bit impressed, Satsuki's a little bit embarrassed because, again, Eiji just disclosed that information. And that's why Shu Yulin states that comment that either Eiji is quite confident and has skills to back up that confidence, or he's just really naive. And then after this, Shu Yulin starts looking at a video recording of Eiji Nagasami when he was, at the beginning of the story, essentially, when he first acquires the Digimon Linker Strap. So that's a bit interesting that they're able to view footage. But continuing forward, at the end of this short section, it's reviewed that another Digimon with an interface. So as a quick reminder, at the end of the previous part, Duromon is revealed to be the Sons of Chaos interviewer's Digimon, the one that he mind links with. I'm assuming he's mind links with them because it seems like all these individuals who have conversations with the Digimon, they mind link with them. And his name was Doromon, and we're getting introduced to another Digimon with an interface, Alalogomon, and his name is Ryudomon. I might be mispronouncing that, excuse me. But Ryudomon is Shu Yulin's partner, digital partner. And the section just ends with everyone noticing that Logomon has that same interface on his forehead as Doromon and Ryudomon does. But of course, the Digipolice is not aware about Doromon. That's just from the audience perspective. After this, there is a page break. Let me just double check my notes really quickly. Yes, okay. After this, there is a page break, and we switch over to Leon Judge Alexander. Judge is his codecracker nickname, or rather, excuse me, he's not a codecracker, he's a hacker, right? Because hackers are they don't skirt the line the way that codecrackers do, but they're also not working with the Digipolice. But we get some small information about Leon Alexander. Apparently, he's staying at a small apartment that he's renting that's on the middle floor. And apparently, this apartment belongs to his mentor. And it seems like Leon is going, or he is attending university. He seems to be a student. And he talks with Postman. And Postman reveals that something just went down on 9th Avenue, or the outer skirts of the Wasp slum. And Leon asks if it's concerning the Sons of Chaos, and how does that pertain to this individual, Eiji Nagasami, or rather this incident, how does that pertain to the Sons of Chaos? And as always, we'll read the last parts. Needless to say, Postman and Leon Alexander are mind-linked. I heard that there was an altercation between a codecracker and the Digipolice in Waslam. But isn't this the usual sneak-busting police point scoring? You'd think so, wouldn't you? But 9th Avenue was also known as the Castle of the Nine Wolves. It's not the kind of place a codecracker would visit for a bit of fun. Leon sits down on the couch by himself. The skilled codecracker and his partner Digimon repel with the Digipolice. They're undoubtedly mind-linked. So, this codecracker, what does he have to do with the SOC? Leon sips from the bottle of water. He likes Japanese soft water. He lived in Japan as a kid and drank a lot of the water at school and at the park. Funny you should ask. The SOC channel is currently ablaze with rumors about him. And that's where part 18 ends. Before I start looking at the quotes that I want to look at really quickly. So it's looking like, I'm quite curious. Is this the end of chapter 1 finally? Well, next week we'll finally begin chapter 2. I did believe in my last part of the video, I was deducing if we were going to shift from Eiji's perspective. And it looks like we did, not just one perspective, but multiple perspectives, not just the Digipolice, but also Leon Alexander. I won't lie, I do wish we got some more information pertaining to Leon Alexander. I do feel like the part ended quite quickly, and it's because of that, it makes me think to myself, maybe there might be one more part before we end chapter 2, or maybe, and the next part will focus entirely or mostly on Leon Alexander, and then shifting back to Eiji, or maybe this is the end of chapter 1, and next week will be the beginning of chapter 2. Either way, though, I am happy where we left it at this part of the story. Either it's just the end of another part or the end of a chapter. I'm really appreciating the world building and the setup that's been done so far, and the characterization as well. Shu Yulin might be a new character, but right off the bat, I'm starting to appreciate her. Something I forgot to mention is that she does have a nickname. She is known in the unit and in the Digipolice as the Demon Squad leader. And that seems like it's a negative nickname, but the reason why she's called that is essentially because of her flawless track record. And due to her sharp eyes. I don't necessarily know what that means. Maybe that means that she's very astute and she's able to pick up on details. Kind of like other characters I've been introduced so far, even if it's not explicitly stated that they are observant or astute. So let's go ahead and look at the first quote that I want to look at. The first one is a mind-linking level A codecracker. You didn't see his name on our list of SOC executives. Eiji Nagasumi. I'm amazed you managed to get his real name so quickly, said Satsuki. Well, he just gave it to me. He just gave it to me himself. Huh? Yunin slumps back in her desk a bit. So this Eiji gave me his name, his full name. You think we'll have an alias, a codecracker name he goes by, but really does appear to be his name. I can't tell if he's really smart or really stupid. Yulin's second in command, Satsuki, the deputy squad leader, also passed on her undisclosed affiliation and the name of Section 11 to the codecracker. My guess is that he's a very skilled moron. That was my impression of him, at least. Satsuki looks a little embarrassed. This so-called moron sent her Nomimon to the infirmary. So the reason why I wanted to focus on this quote a little bit is just because I like how we're getting a second-hand discussion about Eiji's character. this might be the first time I believe that we're getting another individual where Eiji is not present and he's being discussed. And I'm chuckling a little bit because, as always, this story really seems to want to highlight the fact. Well, I do appreciate how at this point it's not being stated that it's possible that maybe Eiji is not just a dumb bunny or a silly goose, but maybe there's some merit in the actions that he's doing. But we do know in the past part that Eiji was a little bit out of his league. But I do want to highlight that even though the story did say that he was starting to quote unquote cry, I believe that was more in terms of crying out, as in exclamations and things like that. I don't believe that Eiji started cowering. So that's an important detail that I am liking that the other characters are starting to notice as well. Even if Eiji may not be quote unquote intelligent or clever, it doesn't stop him from acting, and those actions that he does, well, sometimes it benefits him, right? And I just also like this line because of Satsuki's characterization that it does for her. To hear her superior to call Eiji, what does he say? A moron. Of course, it's going to make her feel a little bit downtrodden because, well, this moron, as she highlights, this moron defeated Numemon, and she seems to have a really close relationship with Numemon due to the fact that she's a huge fan of most slugs and snails and those kinds of creatures. Yeah, so that's why I like this quote. The next quote I want to look at is, morons are one thing, but you exceeded the K-line again. How many times has it been this year now? Sorry, Satsuki looks dejected. Needless to say, mind linking has a safety time limit for a reason. If you cross the K line, the warning threshold, and then the L line, the connection limit, your mental data will be attached to the digicore, and only your consciousness will be left behind in the digital world. And that will have a huge impact on the assessment. It's life-threatening. I, for one, do not want to lose my men. I don't want to lose my people, not a single one of them. Please accept my apologies. I'll be more careful. I don't want to be DMIA either. This term refers to people who go missing or unconscious during activities in the digital world. So the reason why I like this line is because I like how it shifts. So right after this line, before this is the previous line that I just quoted from. And I like how it shifts so naturally from the discussion of the assignment over to the discussion of the worker's behavior. And what I like about this too is that Shu Yulin, I would argue that if she wanted to be quite upset or a little bit negative towards Satsuki, when I say negative, I mean showing a concern toxically rather than positively. She could have yelled at her, been stern with her, used a sharp voice, but it seems more like with this section, it seems like Shu Yulin, she really does care about the people who work beneath her. She wants to make sure that everyone is safe and, well, they'll be returning home, right? Really quickly, this really does remind me a little bit of Destiny 2's current seasonal story. Season of the Deep, it's a character named Sloane, and it's revealed she works on the moon of Titan in our solar system, and it's explained that within Titan there's a methane sea, and Guardian fire teams would be sent into this methane sea. And Sloane, she knew every name of the Guardian who was sent down there, and she made it her purpose to make sure that they'll come back safely. This really reminds me about that. It seems like Shu Yulin, she's going to be a positive character who's not keeping in mind just the mission, but keeping in mind the mission and the people who work with her. I'm really looking forward to discover more about Shu Yulin. So again, to reiterate, I'm loving how Shu Yulin did not just reprimand Satsuki. She's truly showing some concern right here. I'm also hoping that we'll get some further information about the other events and where Satsuki did not cut her mind link. I wonder if there was a reason for that. Or I was just meant to build her characterization that she's a little bit more like Eiji than she wants to admit, right? That she acts, but she acts with good intent. So the last quote I want to look at, I'm not going to lie, is quite short. A tower apartment overlooking the Deadwind district at night. A one-bedroom apartment on the middle floor. Leon Alexander's mentor and boss owns the room, which he rents while studying abroad at the university. He exits the shower room. So the reason why, even though this quote is quite short, I wanted to highlight it is because it's a throwaway line, but I'm more than likely certain that we're going to come back to this in a future part because Alexander's mentor and boss, I think that's really interesting. It's kind of seeming like in the same way that Eiji has someone who's working with him, the Professor Ruzenji, Leon Alexander also seems to be working with an older mentor figure. Who could this individual be? I'm sure we'll come back to them. But I am kind of curious. It'll be cool to discover that his mentor is actually the professor. But who knows? Maybe that might be just too simple. Or maybe I haven't read enough stories where I don't realize that that's just a silly idea to approach, right? But I am curious about who Leon Alexander's mentor is, and the fact that not only is he his mentor, but he's his boss as well. So they obviously have a really close relationship. Again, very similar to Eiji with the professor. So that's everything I want to discuss with part 18 of Digimon Seekers. Again, I do know that it's looking like it might be slow for some individuals. We're still on chapter one. Chapter one, we haven't moved on to chapter two yet. But again, personally for me, I don't really mind that too much because it's looking like so far the story is utilizing its pagination or its space well. It's making sure to utilize world building so the audience understands what's occurring and how the characters navigate through this world as well. So yeah, and when it's through reading Digimon Seekers, please do let me know what are you enjoying so far. Do you want chapter 1 to be finished already? Are you hoping that part 18 was the end of chapter 1 and chapter 2 would begin next week? I am looking forward to the new trailer. Don't forget, with every new chapter that releases, we're more than likely be getting a trailer, in the same way that when chapter 1 part 1 first came out on the YouTube channel for Digimon Seekers, they released that trailer for it as well, which showcases some events that will occur throughout the chapter. Really quickly, keeping in mind the first trailer, it seems like we've already done everything that was showcased in that trailer. So again, it wouldn't surprise me if this was the ending of chapter 1, or maybe we have 1 or 2 more parts before we end the chapter, and the next portion shifts over, or rather the next portion sticks with Leon Alexander and then shifts over to Eiji and then ends, or 1 more part ending with Eiji specifically and owning him, and then it ends. So to reiterate, either 1 more part, part 19 and then the end of chapter 1, or part 20, the end of chapter 1, or maybe this was the ending of chapter 1, part 18. Thank you so much for listening. I do appreciate it. I do appreciate it. Have a prodigious day and take care.